Hello my friends, my name is Lindsay, I run the blog Books for Christian Girls, and welcome back to the little corner of the internet where I talk mainly about Christian fiction and clean fiction. Today it's a mix of two because we are talking about all the books I read in June. Now that's about 24 books and 15 of them were on Kindle Unlimited. Even more exciting was 15 of them were off of my summer TBR that we made in a few videos ago. And so that's really exciting. So I got 2 done in May because I was excited and I got done early. And then 15 in June. When you look at the total being 84, that maybe not be that exciting, but I'm really only aiming for half. So I think that's not too shabby. We have 5 books off of my physical TBR in this video as well. And then as a bonus thing that I won't be really showing those, I did also go through my physical TBR and unhauled 14 books. Because my birthday was coming and that's literally the only thing I ever asked for holidays or birthdays or whatever. And yes, I basically nulled to that. So that didn't really go as well as I was expecting. But I got 14 off. I probably will do an unhaul at some point. I'm not sure when. I don't know. I'm thinking about that. And then I did get 1 book off of my priority list, which I am a little bummed I did not do better, but oh well, it is what it is. I got 1 off, better than none, right? As always, if you are curious for more information about these books, such as what kind of content is in them and if there's any trigger warnings, I will try to give very brief overviews of that in this video, but I also have my full content reviews for all of these books linked down in the description, which would be your best place to really find out about the content in them. So we're organizing this by Christian fiction to clean fiction, as I always do, with them rated lowest to highest, to hopefully in this video on a good note. Let's get started. I forgot my dress has pockets. I can put stuff in my pockets. That's nice. Beginning with Christian fiction, this book is kind of in between Christian fiction and clean fiction, I would say, because it's one of Enclave, the publisher's books, and their books are either just clean, there's an allegory, and then sometimes there's light faith content. You never really know. And sometimes in a series it can get stronger towards the end, or it can just happen at the end. And so this one I would say was in between. There was light faith content, more so along the lines of God is being called the Wave Master, if I remember right. And there's some prayers to him, but there's still the magic because this is set under the sea with mermaids and stuff. So we follow Ly-Lan, which, side note, I would say that's probably my favorite part about the book was her name, Ly-Lan. I don't know why I think that's so pretty. It looks pretty. It sounds pretty. I like it. That was definitely my favorite part about this book, though. And so she is, though, a mermaid that every generation there is basically one that gets the family curse of being born with legs because an ancestor was basically the Little Mermaid. So it's not really a fairy tale retelling per se. It's more along the lines of what happened after the Little Mermaid got her story. And I have to say, I didn't really care for this one personally. If you like this one, I can see why. I think it has a lot of good potential, but it's just not really my thing. It was a little darker than I was expecting. And maybe I should have expected that with a mermaid book. But I've read really cute ones as well that are very just light, happy, innocent, maybe a little suspense. But this one felt a little too dark for my taste. And basically Ly-Lan, because she is basically a social outcast, she's called a freak and a monster, and has all these negative thoughts because of all these other people around her, because she is one of the ones that is born with legs. I think they're called a Crurara? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But basically she's a social outcast and other people look at her like she doesn't have a soul and she's just a mutant freak and that kind of thing. So if you're sensitive to that kind of thing and prejudice, you might pass on this book. Because we do have, there is a soldier guy, a guard, not a knight, a soldier? I don't remember. One of the underwater patrol guard guys. And he is very much a creep to her. So I didn't care for that either. I didn't care for that at all, and that definitely tainted my enjoyment of this book, or my potential enjoyment of this book. And Ly-Lan's older sister is pregnant with, I think, her 3rd or 4th little mer baby, and it turns out to be a little girl who is born with legs. And so Ly-Lan is determined to figure out how to break the curse so her new little niece will not go through all the things that she's gone through. So meanwhile we have that with Ly-Lan, but we also have Dihn, who is actually her older sister's husband's older brother. Did you follow that family tree? Good job if you did. And so Lachlan has been raised by her sister because she was abandoned at birth by their father, or by their parents, I guess. I don't know if we were ever told about her mom. I think we were just told about the dad, that they have their dad's like color shifting eyes. I don't think we ever heard about the mom. But regardless, the parents abandoned Lachlan because she was born with legs. And so the older sister has somehow been raising her. I'm not quite sure like how the age gap and all of that works with them, because Darren and Lachlan are 8 years apart. So her and her sister have to be close, and I don't understand. Anyway, we have Darren, and he has been in love with Lachlan since she was 16 and he was 24, and she has like always kind of had a crush on him. We have a lot of them kind of like, oh, I can't tell her my feelings. Oh, I can't tell him my feelings. What if the worst thing happens and we can't be friends anymore and it will be awkward and yada, yada, yada. That, it kind of drove me a little batty how they kept doing that. And then also I think that something that was really hard for me about this book was that her POV is in first person present tense and his was in third person, and that doesn't usually bother me. The first and third, I've been seeing it more often now and I don't really love it, but it doesn't really bother me. But I found his POVs to be very choppy and almost stilted, if that makes sense. So it took me a while to get into this book because of that, and then seeing that the romance was going to be kind of like a Mr. Knightley thing again. And some of y'all are going to be so excited for that. We know my opinion on Emma and Mr. Knightley, really. I liked Emma. She was a little bit of an airhead, but, you know, she was fine. Mr. Knightley I have problems with. And so with Darren and Lachlan, I really just kept seeing him as an older brother figure, but they're too busy, like, woe is mean over their feelings for the other, and I don't know. I saw the ending coming. It does end on a cliffhanger. I think if you were emotionally invested into this book, you would be like, I need the next book, but I honestly don't really care. Maybe that sounds bad. I've read the preview of it on Amazon just for curiosity's sake to see, like, is it going to pick up right where it does? And it does. Does it pick up right where it ended? And it does. But I'm not really interested. And based off of reviews, I don't know if I want to read it. So, yeah, this was an unfortunate miss. It was one on my priority list though, so that was good. I got that done at least, but yeah, it was kind of a miss for me, unfortunately. Another book I read in June was The Atlas of Untold Stories by Sara Brunsvold. This is her newest book. This is the author that wrote The Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp, which I greatly enjoyed, and she also did The Divine Proverb of Streusel, which I liked a little less, but Mrs. Kipp was just really hard to top. And I ended up giving this one 3 stars because it had good potential, but at the same time it was kind of hard to read about. And so basically we follow Chloe, who's 26, and she has an older sister, Lauren, who is 32? Yes, 32. And then their mom, Eddie, and it's a strained relationship between the 3 of them because Eddie's mom, the girls' grandmother, was a force to be reckoned with. Can I say that? She really made an impact on Eddie, and not really for the positive way. So that has definitely affected how Eddie treats her daughters, Chloe and Lauren. And Chloe is going to be not really studying abroad. She's going to be teaching abroad, and she's trying to work up the courage to tell her mom about it, and then she randomly proposes, why don't we go on a road trip around the Midwest to all these literature places, because she knows her mom likes books. And so they do that, and then Lauren gets invited to join in, and Lauren's got other problems with like work and a guy and that kind of thing. And so we have their 3 POVs. There's very light romance kind of in one of the POVs as more of a side note, really. And so if you really like classic books, like there is a ton of classical book references and all the things that have to go with that because they're visiting all these different places. I will be honest, I probably knew like 4, maybe 5. Reading wise, I've probably only read 2. I'm not a classics person, so all of that was kind of lost on me personally. But it did have some good faith content. I think though, it was really hard to read about like a strained sister relationship, and then a really hard to read about a strained mother-daughter relationship and just like how they treated each other. It felt kind of sad to me because they've missed out on so much and so many positive experiences and joy by being with the other, because they focus, mainly Eddie and Lauren, they focus so much on what other people think of them and like how they are like supposed to be, you know, like the perfect woman, if you will, in a way. And I just thought that was really sad to see. They were also, I don't like using the word judgmental, but Eddie and Lauren really were, and there was just like a really strong lack of showing God's grace and mercy and goodness to others, particularly Chloe, because she was just so different from the two of them. And I don't know, I have very mixed feelings on this one. I have not seen many people also have mixed feelings on this one, so I'm curious as this book is out. As a side note, besides like the whole strained family relationships and trying to meet other people's unrealistic expectation, perhaps we could call that a trigger note, there is also an eating disorder. One of the girls is doing that, and it's not specifically named, but you can tell that is what's going on there, because she's counting calories and commenting on her weight and not eating and exercising like crazy. And so you have all the signs of it, but it's never really talked about or handled. And I think that could be potentially harmful to some readers, especially those who are already sensitive to that topic. I don't know, y'all. It was just different. I was expecting it would be kind of a wild card for me because of all the literature references that went over my head in all reality. It was just had a sadder note to me, and maybe that's because like the sister relationship is something I can understand to a degree. But it just, I wanted the healing and the hope, basically, and the conversations that they all desperately needed to have to each other to happen way sooner, so we could have had that healing and the hope for the future to be a better chunk of the book. But it wasn't, in my opinion. It wasn't enough. It was just like, whoop, everything's hunky-dory. And so I was a little disappointed in this one. I did like it overall, I guess. That's what a 3-star means. But it definitely was not my favorite by this author. If you have read this book, I would really like to know your thoughts, especially like, because, you know, I just gave y'all a bunch of my thoughts. I'd love to know what y'all thought. If you picked up on anything, things like that. Yeah, feel free to let me know about any of these books, but I'd very much be curious about y'all's thoughts on this one. My next book is a Christian fiction contemporary YA book, and that is Liabetes, I think is how we're going to say this title, by Shanna M. Heath. I read the author's other book, Salvaged, a couple months ago, and I talked about it in recent reads, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. This one, though, I didn't quite enjoy it as much, but that was just because of a couple little things we'll get into. But basically, the plot line of this one is about Olivia, and she has all these dreams and like her dream school and like her dream career. But unfortunately, there's not really the finances to back up all of those dreams. And so she finds out about a scholarship for those that are athletes that have type 1 diabetes. She does not have type 1 diabetes though, so little snag on there, and hence the title. And so she starts going to a support group to kind of learn about this and all the different things that could come with that. And so it actually wasn't as heavily focused on diabetes as I was expecting. So that was interesting. It was more of like an outsider's perspective, of course, because she doesn't have that. And she meets this guy at the support group that I don't know what she saw in, and then she's got a really good friend group. And that's really, I feel like, all I can tell you. I can say there is really good character development, there is lessons learned. I liked a lot of different aspects about this book, but I will give the note, in case you're sensitive to potential cursing or like assumed cursing, there is 3 cases where someone's curse is cut off and like just missing a letter, like it's written out but missing a letter. And personally, I don't like seeing that, so I did give this one more of a 3-star because of that. I also read a Christian fiction YA dystopian book, and that is Fugitive of Talionis by CJ Milacci. I'm not sure how to pronounce the author's name. Hopefully I just got one of them was the correct way. I don't know though. I gave this one 3 stars. It is book 2 in a series though, so I can't really tell y'all too much about it. Book 1 was Captive of Talionis, which I gave 3 stars as well. I had very similar feelings about both books. They're a little long for my taste, and like the justice of taking down this corrupt third-party government is not happening as fast as I want, but that's because I'm impatient and I like to see good win over evil quickly, and that's just not how it goes sometimes. But I did enjoy this book basically the same amount as the first book. I would say there's less fighting and killing and deaths and whatnot, but there is still some. However, it's never gruesome, which is something I have to say has been very refreshing about this series so far, is I would be okay handing it to a middle-aged teen, I guess you could say. I don't know, like 15, 16, I think would be okay for this series so far, at least, because it is not heavy violence at all. You do not feel like you're rolling around in the gutter with the filth and the blood and all of that, which I'm greatly appreciative of. There is also a very clear-cut, maybe slightly heavy-handed faith message and salvation message, though, which I have to approve of, because there's not a lot of Christian fiction books that have the actual salvation message straight put, like, straight shot right there, there you go kind of thing. And I have to appreciate how the author is doing it in this book, even if it might be a little much maybe at times. I am enjoying that aspect. So I'm going to continue on with the rest of the series. I'll read the 3rd book probably this month coming up in July, but yeah, it was good. Snake in the Grass by Elizabeth Penney. I'm not going to stare at this cover for long. I don't do snakes. They give me the hibby-jibbies. Not a fan of them, so I will admit I was kind of dreading this one because I knew I was going to have a snake in the cover and a snake on the title. Don't love that. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It was okay. It was fine. Yeah, I liked it overall well enough. It's definitely not my favorite of the series. The prior book was really good though. Things have happened, and I did, like, I won't say I did spoilers in my final thoughts of this review, but it would be spoilers if you haven't read the prior books in the series, I guess. But if you've read a couple books in the series, you probably already know what it's going to happen regarding a relationship for the main character. So I talk a little bit about that. I won't discuss it in this video because I know, like, obviously not everyone has read the prior books. There was just a little something that annoyed me about how it was handled in this book, and I talk about it in my review. So if you've read a couple books in the series, or you have read all of them up to this one, then you would be totally fine. It's not an actual spoiler. But it's a spoiler for those who haven't started the series, I guess. That feels like such a redundant way to put it, Lindsay, but I know what I mean. Hopefully y'all do too. I think with the Guidepost Mystery series, sometimes there are fantastic ones in the 12, 15, 18, 24, however many book series. Sometimes there's really good ones, and then there's other ones that just kind of fall flat for you. And for me personally, this was one that kind of fell flat because the mystery and like the culprit seemed 105% obvious. So that kind of took me out of the story, and I really had to kind of force myself to read this one. Because this series has been connecting where it mentions events from the prior books. So it is best to read them in order. If you're enjoying the series, you could check it out. It just really wasn't my favorite so far, so. Miss Victoria by Taylor Paige is I'm not quite sure what the target market is. It's just like for Christian girls. So I think really like any ages could enjoy it. There is very slight side character romances though, which I go into about in my review. But basically this is book 2 in I don't know how to pronounce this. Savantor Spies? Is that maybe? It's the name of the place that their uncle owns. So it has to do with spies. It is historical, kind of Regency era. And so the first book was Miss Rawlings, which I will say I liked that one more than this one, just a little bit. This one, though, follows her younger sister 7 years later. So she is now 17 and going to go on her first assignment as a spy, kind of going undercover in a girls' boarding school, trying to find out who is the traitor and like who's going to do like treason to the government and like all of that kind of thing. And I liked it overall. It wasn't my favorite. I still think I liked the first book a little bit more. Maybe that's because I liked Elizabeth, the older sister, more as a character. But this one was good too. It was good to see our main character, Victoria, kind of blossom and grow, but then also learn that the Lord is always with her, because that's a very important message and something to take hold of and know for sure in your heart. So it was good to see the character development. It was just a lot of characters, I think, for me at times. So I definitely made use of my Kindle search feature, and I would also definitely recommend you reading them in order. overall, it was pretty good. I look forward to continuing on with the series. Mystery in Crooked Creek Woods by Amanda Cleary Eastep is book 4 in the Tree Street Kids series. I think I got all that. It's a long title, long author, and then the series name. I think I got that. And this is book 4 in the series that I've really been enjoying. I ended up giving this one about 3.5 stars. In this book, we follow Jack, his younger sister, who I just think is an absolute dear. I love her. I never know what she's gonna say next, and it's always entertaining. And then their friend group that lives in their neighborhood, and they are trying to solve the mystery of this mysterious light flashing that is coming from the woods near their neighborhood, and so they are trying to investigate and solve it. And I liked a lot of different aspects about this book. One thing though that has really stood out to me about this series is that even though there's good and like, yes, you solved the mystery and that's awesome, you still disobeyed an order from your parents, or you did something you knew they wouldn't like, therefore there are still consequences. And I find that incredibly refreshing, because one thing I've noticed in secular middle grade books is there is no discipline, but there's also no consequences. Like, oh, you solved it, yay, okay, everything's fine. But there were still things that your parent or parents wouldn't want you to do, but it's the whole the ends justify the means kind of mentality, and I really like that the series is not that way, because yes, you solved the mystery. However, you still went to the woods at night when you know you were not supposed to do that. Grounding kind of thing, and I just appreciate that parental authority and parental guidance and just parents being good parents. You know, the series has had that, and I greatly appreciate it. And that might be such a random thing to comment on, and I know somebody might not quite understand what I mean, and so I wrote it in my review. And I think I was a lot more eloquent and straight to the point than what I just was. So maybe check that out before you leave me a comment fussing at me. But I really like that element. I think it is very healthy, I guess you could say. A very healthy relationship between the parents and the kids, particularly Jack and his younger sister with their parents. And this is set in 1995, so you just have a lot more of that wholesome, no technology storytelling as well. Because like in this book, Jack and Ellison are trying to write a mystery as well. So we get their story that they are writing, and I overall really liked this one. I thought it was a pretty solid middle grade mystery. I picked up an early reader, I guess you would say, book as well that was about 90 pages, and that was Ly-Lan and the New Class Mix-Up. And I don't know how to pronounce the author's name correctly, so I'm not going to attempt. I think I pronounced the main character's name correctly. Fun fact for those who aren't aware, here in Texas, Vietnamese is the 3rd most spoken language, and I'm surrounded by it in a lot of different ways, but I've never really been able to pick up on it, and I'm really sad about that. That is one language I really would like to learn one day. And so I was very curious about this one. This is actually set in Dallas. Well, I think it was it Grapevine? It was up Dallas-Fort Worth way, and so I thought that was quite fun. This is very cute. This is about 8-year-old Ly-Lan, who is super excited to go to school and be with her best friend in her class, but then when the first day of school starts, she is not in the class with her best friend, and she is very upset about it and trying to learn the different lessons. It has really cute illustrations. It was a short little book. I think I read it in like 30 minutes. So yeah, not really a challenging read for myself, but I thought it was pretty cute. It had about praying and light faith content, but just the really good lesson of making friends and being a good friend. So I thought it was pretty cute. I look forward to the next book, which I saw the title and the cover recently, and I'm just like very curious because book fairs were my favorite thing in kindergarten. So Where There's Smoke by Laura Bradford is book 1 in the Mysteries of Blackberry Valley series. This is a new mystery series by Guidepost, being published on Kindle Unlimited, which is where I've been reading them. So far, I have enjoyed the series. This is book 1. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm pretty sure this book was set in Kentucky, and it follows our main girl, Hannah, who has come back to her hometown, Blackberry Valley, which is a really cute name, if I can just say. From LA, she was a chef over there, and now she is wanting to open her own restaurant, and she's opening her own restaurant in this book, and it's going to follow different mysteries that she runs into. And yeah, I really liked this one. In this book, Hannah finds a ruby brooch that has been missing for decades in a house that had a fire, and we're not sure, is that fire arson? Was it accidental? What's happening? Where did this ruby brooch come from? We're trying to figure all of that out. Overall, I thought it was pretty cute. I liked it. You can see there's going to be a bit of romance as the series continues between Hannah and the fire chief. So I have to admit, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. Pretty cute overall. I look forward to reading the next book here in July. The Keeper of the Tower by Michaela Bush is book 5 in the Legends of Lunaria series. Y'all have been hearing me talk about this series for a couple years now at least. Book 1 was The Lady of Lunaria, which is my all-time favorite Rapunzel retelling. This is book 5. Definitely recommend reading them in order because, oh yeah, you're going to want to read them in order, otherwise you're going to be horribly confused. But this is book 5. A lot of things have happened. I can't really say much. Perhaps have tissues nearby. I can tell you that much. Yeah, I'll tell you that much. That's about it. Book 6 is coming in November with a bind-up collection of all the books in one, a hardback. I'm so excited for it. I haven't even seen the cover of it. I don't really need to know. I will be getting it because this has been such a good Christian fiction series. Like, it's YA, new A, I guess you could say, that really has the characters standing up and fighting against evil, and I've really just enjoyed seeing that and the good and the light versus the darkness, and it's been very strong spiritual faith content, and I've really enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I am bracing for impact for that final 6th book, but I'm looking forward to it. I actually, as I was reading this book and getting started, I was just getting concerned about a certain potential event that I saw that could potentially come. And so I messaged Sara over at Sara's Tangled Tales because I knew she had already read it, and she put me out of my misery by confirming something did not happen, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you again, Sara, because I was able to enjoy the book. Oh, I still enjoyed the book, but it was more of like I was able to be less tense about it and less like anxiety over it. Anxious, that's the correct grammar. I was able to be less anxious over it by her letting me know because I was concerned. I should have been a little more detailed in my question. But elsewise, it was very helpful. It's a good series. Really been enjoying it. Cannot wait for book 6. And my final book for Christian fiction was my top book of the month, and that was Keep 'em Flying by Nell Branum. This is book 1 in the Heroes on the Homefront Mysteries series. Book 2 actually released the same day, and I'm going to be reading that one within probably the next week. I'm really looking forward to getting to it, but I gave this one 4.5 stars. We follow Riley, who is in 6th grade, and her grandmother tells her that the Historical Society is having a writing competition, writing contest, and there is not only a cash prize that Riley could use to fund her gymnastics program, but she also would win a trip to go to this Historical Society Museum event that is honoring the men and women who served both domestic and abroad during World War II. This book just felt so patriotic though, and I truly just enjoyed so many different parts of it. We have the historical facts and the elements and the mystery, but we also have that Riley's family is a military family because her dad is in the army and he is stationed somewhere where they don't know the details, of course, and so we have that element. It just felt so patriotic. Like, honestly, I'm not exaggerating when I say when I got done with this book, I wanted to like sing the Star Spangled Banner or something, because America the Beautiful even, because it just felt so pro-America. And that might be a dangerous thing to say on the internet now, but I am very grateful for our men and women who have served through history and currently for my freedom and everyone else's freedom. So I greatly enjoyed this book. I thought it was great. If you were looking for a 4th of July read, you might check this one out. I think, wait, is this video coming out on 4th of July? Yeah, this video is coming out on 4th of July. Well, if you want to read one around the 4th of July, you can definitely check out this book. I greatly enjoyed it. It had the mystery elements, and I don't know, she gets to go around with her grandma as well, and her grandma reminded me a lot of my Mima. So I enjoyed that element as well. It was just really delightful overall. I'm going to stand up for a minute for this next part of this video, and that is going to be about my clean fiction reads for the month of June. And I had some really good ones towards the end here, but we got a couple duds we got to talk about first. And so one of them is going to be The Secret Key by Lena Jones, which is book 1 in the Agatha Audley series. I gave this one 2 stars. I am always game for trying mysteries that are middle grade. I just think that is such a fun genre. This one is non-murder. It looks like the other 2 books in the series are, one of them is murder though, so as a heads up about that. I have not read those other ones. Don't know if I'm going to, in all reality. So this one, I had so many thoughts and I listed them on Goodreads because, yeah, this was interesting. So our main character is Agatha and she's 13, and as you can probably tell, she was named after Agatha Christie because her mom was a very big fan. And so she has started going to a very prestigious boarding school, kind of hoity-toity, right? And her dad is just like a gardener. And so one day on her way to school, she hears someone being kind of ran over by a motorcycle. And so she is trying to help the old woman and investigate. But there's suspicious things, of course, with that older woman. And then there's this mysterious red, slimy gunk substance that is like taking over London's waterways and making like waters not drinkable because it's affected all the power plants and everything. There is just a lot of suspending your disbelief with this book. And I put in my review about like my main problems with it can kind of be summarized into 3 points. So like Agatha, the main character, her actions, because she sneaks out a lot, okay y'all? Like she sneaks out like 3-4 times out of her house when she's not supposed to leave or grounded, and then out of school. Girl. And then she can be sassy and disrespectful to adults because she thinks she knows what's better, and that's not cute. That's not cute. You're 13. Stop it. And then her reasoning for wanting to solve the mystery was because she just wanted to beat the police to do it. Like, no true reason. She has to figure it out before the police do. It's not a competition. Let's just say if I had to babysit this girl, I'd be bald. I'd be so stressed with her. And also, as a side note, when she sneaks out, she often like dresses up in like elaborate costumes. So like she tries to dress up as a nurse. I'm like, you're 13. Do you not look 13? And then at one point, like there's a mentions of her prior trying to dress up as a plumber to get into a place. It almost worked. Like, again, the suspending your disbelief phrase, I think is the phrase. That's how I felt about all of that. I'm not quite sure why she thought her disguises would work, or even how they did work. But we have that element. There is also the whole Agatha kind of thinks she's better than all the other girls at her school because she's not into like shopping and hair and makeup and boys. So that was annoying. I'm not gonna lie, that was annoying. There also was language in this book, more language than I thought was suitable for the middle grade market, which is 8 to 12. Now, mind you, on Amazon it says like everywhere ages 11 and up, and so maybe the publisher and the group of writers, because Lena Jones is a pen name for a group of writers who we do not know who those people are in that group. And I have very, I won't even say I have mixed feelings. I have negative feelings about that in all reality. If I can be completely honest with y'all, I don't love that. And so maybe they think that's better. That's like, oh, it's 11 and up rather than like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe, but I still don't think it was necessary to have cursing or even like God's name taken in vain. Unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion. So there you go. And then number 3, we are suspending disbelief a lot. I've already said that twice in this little clip, I think. Yeah. We're doing it a lot in this. Particularly at the end. And I feel like as an adult reader, when you read a middle grade book, sometimes you have to do that already. But there was a lot of me doing that for this book. I think for like the entire ending, I was just that one meme of the guy just blinking because I was like, this is really how it's gonna go? Particularly when Agatha gets the gun off of the bad guy and she goes to point it at him. And it's noted that she's never shot one before, but she's read about it. So she can do it. I'm just like, no, kind of different. Kind of different. Speaking from experience, it's different. And so we have all that. And I listened to the audiobook partially. Like, I started this book with the audiobook, and I did have to actually do it slower because of the super thick accent from the narrator. And I feel like that's saying something, because part of my whole family tree is British and have thick accents. When we talk to them on the phone, it's thick. But this narrator was a little difficult for me to follow, so I switched and put it onto my Kindle with the library's copy. And you know, it was interesting. It was interesting. I was just a little stressed, but that's not really the best word. I was disappointed. I think I was really hoping I would find another middle grade mystery series that I could read and review, but I don't think I'm going to continue on, because looking at the reviews from the next 2 books in the series, there's comments from other adult reviewers, or just not middle grade readers, saying about how much she just keeps sneaking out and lying, and yeah, I don't think I want to continue for that. That just doesn't sound enjoyable, because she was doing it a lot already, and I can't imagine her doing it even more. Another secular clean fiction book I read that was a miss for me was A Lady Most Isolated by Heloise? I'm not sure if I actually don't know how to pronounce this author's name. It's Eloise with an H. Is the H silent? I don't think it would be Spanish and it would be a silent H. But Heloise? Is it Heloise? I don't know. It looks pretty. I just don't know how to say it. This book was interesting. It was a Rapunzel retelling in a Regency setting, so no magic. It's a multi-authored series. It does not look like any of them are connected, which was kind of hard for me to believe, because I was very confused about this book. I felt like I was jumping into the middle of a series, but from what I can tell, it's not connecting to any other book. But if anyone knows anything else about that, let me know. I would appreciate it. And I liked this book a decent amount, but then when certain things were revealed, I did not care for how the main guy acted. I was ready to tar and feather him. I had a disgusting look on my face. Like, I know I was making a face when I saw how he reacted to information about our main girl, and like why she was, like, you know, locked in a tower and her history and all that. Did not care for how he reacted, and especially because, like, no, I'm not gonna rant. I could, but I'm not going to. I kind of did in my review. It was okay. It was okay. Moving on. Wingless Hope by Sydney Winward is one of the books in the Hope Ever After multi-authored series. They are not connecting to other books in the series, but they might be connecting to other books by that author. And so you can read this series out of order. I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I keep trying to refilm this clip and explain it, but I'm really struggling with it, because it's a very realistic view of what it would be like for pixies, tiny little pixies, living in our human-sized world. Out in nature, really, but, you know, still in that element. And so at the very beginning of this book, we are following a young prince of the pixies, of one of the pixie kingdoms, and he is supposed to be getting betrothed to this little seed, and this little seed is obviously our main character. But things happen, and she gets separated by... Things happen, that's a nice way to put it. There's tragedy, okay? There's tragedy. And sadness. Tragedy and sadness, that's the same thing, Lindsay. But, you know, there's sadness, there's tragedy. And it starts off with a bang because of it. And so then we time skip, and the Pixie Kingdom is not doing well because different reasons. I'm trying to be vague for spoilers, but things are happening, and they are still trying to find our main character, whose name, Briar. Yes, her name was Briar, and he was Quinn. And so they're still trying to find her. And there's a whole magic system with it, which I thought was interesting. But there is also, unfortunately, goblins. And what do goblins like to eat? If you guessed pixies, you would be correct, unfortunately. And so they are like creepy, murderous not great creatures. We need to avoid them at all costs if we are a pixie. And so they added in kind of a slightly gruesome note, I guess you could say. Like, there were certain parts I was like, ooh. And so we have that element. We've got the magic. I will say I was leaning towards giving it like a 3.5 or a 4, but one word, it's really a slang word, that I personally cannot stand was used in it. So like others might enjoy it more, but that word is such a deal breaker for me. I cannot stand that word. So I dropped it because of that, but also it was pretty sad and a little violent at times, so that was a little disappointing. Gorgeous, gorgeous cover though. Pearl and the Baker. Did my Southern twang just came out? Wow, that just came out in full force, didn't it? By Sienna Peake, or Peake, I'm not sure if we say the E in the last name or not, is a Regency fairy tale retelling with no magic. I gave this one 3 stars. It was just kind of a novella, I guess you would say. It was about 90-100 pages, and it was pretty cute. It is a, what is it, Hansel and Gretel retelling? And one thing I have to say I really liked, that the evil stepmother in this book was honestly more juvenile. Like, she wasn't like a big threat, but she's still a threat enough to send our Hansel and Gretel characters into the forest and finding a cabin with a handsome baker and his aunt. I think it was his aunt, his great aunt. I don't remember the family relationship. But basically, yeah, that's the gist of it. It was overall cute. Probably continue on with the rest of the series when I just want a little palate cleanser, if you will. But it was a little dramatic towards the end. But it was okay. I overall enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, which means I liked it. Princess of the Beans by Sara Beran. I gave 3.5 stars. This is book 2 in the Order of the Fountain series. The first book was Second Star to the Right, which was a Peter Pan retelling that I discussed either last month or the month before, I don't remember when. And so I did enjoy this one more than that first book because I really liked the main character, Jack. This is a mashup retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk and Rapunzel. I liked that there was like plant element in it. Let's be honest, I like my plants. If you notice my dramatic plant back there being dramatic, I watered it. It's fine. It's having its moment. It's fine. But I thought they were pretty cute together, Jack and Rapunzel. They had a really sweet little banter going. I liked them quite a bit. I think though it's more of a 3.5 for me than a 4 because of some deaths and unanswered questions. And obviously it's part of a series, so perhaps they'll be answered and like some people won't actually be dead like I think they're dead. I don't know. The villain in this one is stressing me out, I will say. He is stressing me out. Overall, it's not bad. It's a series you have to read in order though because it was very connecting to the first book. I'm not thrilled. I have to just side note. I looked ahead at like who are the next books about, and the last book is about the villain. So that's going to be interesting to read. I didn't realize I read this many Regency books, but here's 2 more Regency books, and one of them was Letters for Phoebe by Sally Britton. I gave this one like 3.5, 4 stars, kind of in between. It was pretty cute overall. Basically, our main girl is Phoebe, obviously, because she gets letters, and she receives this letter from a mysterious man warning her that the man she is interested in is not a great guy, so like heads up, beware. And so they end up doing like a little pen pal. They pen paling? What is the verb of pen pal? Is that a verb? I don't know. You know what I mean though, I hope. And so they start responding back and forth to each other though and gaining information. But meanwhile, in the non-letter world, our main character Phoebe has also been kind of reintroduced to this guy, and that is Griffin. And Griffin is our male main character. Yes, okay, it already tells you he's the mysterious letter writer, so like that's not a spoiler. Who really stood out for me in this book though would be the male main character Griffin, his parents, because they were just like the true MVPs. They were great, loved them. I would read their story because I feel like that would be really cute. And one thing I just have to note is this kind of plot line would be so easy to have like the whole "you lied to me" hurt feelings even though they've only known the person for 2 weeks and like be really annoying like that. This book did not have that, so that was a very pleasant surprise. In this series though, it is connecting. This is a multi-authored series that is connecting. And so I picked up the second book, and that is Romancing Her Rival by Joanna Barker. I talked about this book recently, didn't I? Oh, the book haul. that's it. I talked about it in my book haul video. And so we are following Daphne, and Daphne has always been told she's going to inherit this property from her great aunt? Yes, her great aunt. Her great aunt's estate, really. And just when she needs that estate because of reasons, she finds out her great aunt has given it to one of her childhood best friends who has lived on the property and like is the oh, it doesn't say, but like, you know, like the guy that takes care of everything, that was his dad and now he's doing the job. So the great aunt is leaving everything to him, and Daphne's not very excited about that. Again, I give this one like 3.5, 4 stars. I would say maybe I liked Letters for Phoebe a little more, but they're pretty even in my thoughts about them. This one was a little kissy, particularly at one point for my taste, but that seems to be on par for this author. And yeah, I overall enjoyed these two. I look forward to continuing on with the series, but it is one you ought to read in order. Sky of Wind by Emily Deddy is supposed to be an East of the Moon, West of the Sun retelling, but I honestly didn't catch any of that. So if anyone has read this one and you can point out to me what elements those were, I would greatly appreciate it because I really didn't see that. But this is book 4 in a series that I have been reading, and book 5 was supposed to be released this week and it's gone off of Amazon, so I'm not sure what happened with that, but eventually I'll read that one, I guess. And so I gave this one 3.5 stars though. Oh, what can I say? This is book 4 in the series, and it's not really spoilers because they're individual standalones, but they are super connecting, so I would suggest reading them in order even though it's following different couples in each book. But basically this is in a setting where there was like 250 years ago, there were these magic users, and then the non-magic users rose up against them and exiled them to an island, and they would basically be there for 250 years. Well, now it's like 249 years and 10 months into the deal, and they're going to be coming out soon. But there's already, at this point in the series, there's like a lot more happening, but that's the basic gist, I guess you could say, of it. And so you have like the royal families and everyone trying to figure out how to keep the magic people at bay. The magic people, there's a name, I don't know how to say it, so we're just going to call them the magic people because that makes sense, right? And so we follow a royal family with multiple kids, and this was their only daughters book. Their only daughters POV, really. And yeah, it was cute. Overall, I enjoyed it. 3.5 stars. Book 4 is going to be about the Crown Prince and his girl, which we got a little more of their story in this book. So I look forward to reading that one whenever it's back on Amazon. I don't know what happened, and I'm on the author's newsletter and I didn't get anything, so I don't know, maybe it was a technical thing, but overall this has been a pretty fun series. I read a very thick book, and I want everyone to be very proud of me, and that was Heir of the Curse by Deborah Grace White. This is over 500 pages long. Book 2 is over 600 pages long. I have not read book 2. I've read book 1. I'll eventually get to book 2. But this was different. I have really enjoyed Deborah Grace White's her fairy tale retellings, so I wanted to try her one series that has the Pretty Mermaid on the cover. I've been wanting to read that one, but it's apparently connected to this series, so I have to read this series first. You don't have to, but I've been told like that's the best way. So I'm trying to do the best way, but yeah, 500 pages. I deserve like pat on the back for that because once it hits 400 pages, my brain is kind of like, do we really need to read that, Lindsay? Do we really? Like, that's going to take 2 days. Do you really need to read it? But yes, apparently I need to. So this one was different than I think almost any other book I've read because it is fully told in the first person POV of the male main character. I will say that I was way more interested in the book when the romance came in because I wasn't like super invested into the fantasy elements. I'm trying to think the best way to concisely give y'all like what this book is about. So we follow Cal and his best friend, and certain family secrets have come to light, and it sets them off on a journey, and multiple journeys, and lots of traveling and walking, and dragons. Yeah, it's a fantasy series. I liked certain elements of it. I don't really have too much to say about it. I feel like when a book is like 400 plus pages, I feel like it's already taken all the words out of my brain. Like my brain's like, I can't think anymore. There's too many words flowing through me. Does anyone else have that problem? Is it just me? Maybe it's just me, but yeah, not really too many thoughts about it. I liked different parts of it. There was good character development, which is always nice to see. It was good. I'll eventually continue on when I'm in the mood for a 600-page book. A book I gave 4 stars was Missing Lily by Annette K. Larson. This is book 2 in the books of Dalithia? It's got to be one of those, I would imagine. Series book 1 was Just Ella, which I've been talking about for the last few months because I greatly enjoyed it. And this is following Ella's younger sister, Lily. And so she gets kind of separated from her guard during an attack, and she has to take shelter at this kind of rundown mansion. And she meets the young, handsome lord of that castle, not a castle, the mansion, I guess you could say, the nobleman's house. And so because of different elements though, she has to stay there for some time. And of course feelings happen, but when she gets to go home, angst. This author writes really good angst. If I can just like go out on a limb and say that, between this book and Just Ella, there was angst, and I was just like, how is this going to end well? This needs to end well. How's this going to go? It was very interesting. I'm going to definitely continue on with the series. It was also, just as a side note, it was really nice to see Ella from the first book in this book quite a bit because they have a close sister bond. So I was very happy about that. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I obviously had to get a physical copy of it. Once Upon a Rose by Gabrielle Landy. Can we just appreciate how pretty this cover is? And so the back says, a cursed lord, a feisty librarian, and their baby dragon. So pretty. And then, oh, get a load of this, my dear friends. Number 1, baby dragon sold. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which yeah, Beauty and the Beast ones, I'm burnt out on them. I'm not really enjoying them. So I've been pushing this one out because I wanted to enjoy it. And number 1, look at this map. Look how beautiful. Stunning. I got the special hardbacks from the Arthur's Kickstarter, which she will be doing another Kickstarter, I think, here in July for the next book in this series, which is book 4, because the last Kickstarter was for book 3. This is book 2. You could read them in order. I think it probably would be best to. And so this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I won't say that's my least favorite retelling, but it's probably in the bottom 5. But this book worked, and you know why it worked? Because the main guy was not horrible. He knew how to interact with humans. He was cursed to not talk about a certain event that happened, but he's not terrible. He's not like a brooding, mean grump. He knows how to talk to humans. He doesn't just like grunt and groan and make all the like beastly noises. I don't know. Like all the other beasts do. And then Belle, well, her name's not Belle. It's Beatrice. And Beatrice is not like the other Belles that like resent the beast or like want her freedom back and yada yada yada. So breath of fresh air those two were. They really were. Even better, they knew each other prior to all this. She is the town's librarian. He has been funding the library like financially, but also with his late mother's books. And so they had a good relationship already prior. Like, yeah, it was a business one, but it was really nice. It was so nice. And then get this, my dear friends. Hold on to your hats. This was actually a marriage of convenience trope. I gave a marriage of convenience book 4 stars. How many times has that happened? 3 times. 3 times and that's it. I'm pretty sure. Assassin of Fire and Sacrifice. The Robin Hood retelling by C.J. Brightly. I cannot think of the name. I see the cover. The Wicked Prince? Was that it? I don't know. I'm putting the cover up. Y'all can see it. And then this one. 3 books that are marriage of convenience that I've actually liked. The cow just jumped over the blue moon with the fork and the fiddle and all of that. That's shocking to me, okay? Because that's not a trope I usually like, because it's usually like more noticing and like sexual content, and I don't really care for that. But this book was actually very clean in that regard, which I am so thankful for. It does have a couple kisses that were maybe just a little bit much for my taste, and they hang out in his bedroom just like talking and playing like an actual board game, which honestly I thought that was kind of cute. They were like playing like a fantasy historical version of Monopoly or something. I thought that was cute. So like there is that, but like it's not suggestive comments, which I greatly appreciated. This was really cute. I actually finished it this morning on July 1st, but I'm counting it for June because I don't want to hold off on talking about it. And there, I read it. It was really good. Another book I read in June was Moonflower by Anna Christine, and I gave this one 4 stars. This is actually a short story, and it's only about 26 pages, which I just want to be so like greedy and beg for like another 150. But it was still really cute. What can I tell y'all about it? I don't want to give you too much because like then I'll tell you all of it, and I don't want to do that. Our main girl is a would-be assassin, but she ends up falling for the handsome young king, as one does. And yeah, that's the little gist of it, and the reveal of who she is and all the details are basically what the 26 pages were. It was really cute. Really loved the cover. It was very fun. I liked it. I definitely look forward to reading other books in this world as the author writes them. I would, like, if I could be greedy, I want like 300, 100. I don't really care. I just want more pages, like, to the prior events, like, leading up to this book. I think that would be great fun, but it was really cute regardless. And then my favorite book for clean fiction in the month of June was Mystery at the Midnight Ball by Kirsten Needfelt. Nedfelt? She said in her questions at the end of the book how to say it, and I cracked up at her story she shared, but I can't remember how she said it, so I apologize. This was a random find. I think it was free on Kindle at some point. It's on Kindle Unlimited, something like that. And I randomly picked it up because Mystery at the Midnight Ball, a Cinderella fairy tale. Which part of that do you think interested me? If you said all of it, you were correct. Because yes, this was fun. Now, let me just give you a side note. No magic. No magic in this book. And that just makes me really excited to find a non-magical fairy tale retelling for y'all. This was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I had to buy a physical copy because it was just so fun, and I wanted to hold it up for this video because it was so good. And basically, our main girl is Ellie, and she was best friends with one of the princes when they were growing up because of her father's job. But when her father passes away, and then her stepmother kind of like, you know, makes her the Cinderella, as happens in the Cinderella retelling, the friendship kind of goes to the wayside, right? And so she has not been around for 8 years, and then she happens to have to, well, there's reasons, and she goes to the castle, and he finds her, and they are able to rekindle their friendship, and of course it leads to more, and it was just really fun. One thing I really particularly liked about this book was, even though, like, yes, there is the mystery, it's more of like a political mystery, I guess you could say, for this world, but it was really good. Like, it wasn't simple, it wasn't necessarily easy, but it was very follow-alongable. That's not a word, I know. But, you know, it was very easy to follow along. But it wasn't necessarily an easy plot, so, like, I don't know the best way to describe it. But you have that element, but then the stepmother, yes, she was evil, but she wasn't, like, completely evil, like, my eye is twitching every time she appears, which I have had evil stepmothers in books, particularly Cinderella books, do that to me, where every time this woman appears, my eye twitches, I get mad, my blood pressure rises, like something happens. And this woman was annoying and awful, but not horrible, which was a positive in my opinion. I don't know, that might not make sense, but I appreciated that I wasn't like, "Grr," the entire book every time she appeared. I was too focused on how cute the main couple was. And just so many different elements about it. So, it does seem like it's connected to the author's other series, but I'm not sure where it falls in the line. Well, not the other series. It's connected to one of the author's series, but I'm not sure where it falls in the lineup. I definitely plan to read them. So, I'll let y'all know, but I did highly, greatly enjoy this book. And so here is my stack of physical books for this video. It's funny how they all look tiny. It's funny because, you know, Heir of the Curse was 400 plus pages, but these all look little, but they were mostly enjoyable. I won't be keeping The Mermaid's Tale. Gonna pass that one along. And then, buying-wise, Where There's Smoke, I might. I'm gonna continue on with the series and see, because if I enjoy the series, then I'll probably want to end up collecting them. Heir of the Curse, I'm going to continue on with the series and see what I think. And then Moonflower is not available in physical form. It is just in Kindle at this moment. So can't buy that one physically because it's not available. But overall, I think June was a pretty good month. I had hoped to reread some old favorites in my birthday month of June, and that did not happen. But I had a decent month, so I mean, I'm not mad. I'm definitely not mad. I'm glad I had some 4 stars, and then a 4.5 definitely makes me happy. So, not bad. I'll take what I can get. I hope you enjoyed this video though, and I'd love to know if you want to read any of these. Have any of these caught your eye? Again, non-magical fairy tale retelling. I want to try to find more of those for y'all because I know not everyone does magic, and that's totally fine. I wish I had more options for y'all. So I'm really excited about this new one. And then hopefully I'll find more, but let me know if y'all have been interested in any of these or if you now want to read any of them. I love hearing from y'all in the comments, and I will see y'all next time. I am Lindsay from the blog booksforchristiangirls.blogspot.com, where there is a new review every Wednesday and Friday. I try my very best to post a new video on this channel every Friday, and then I'm also on Instagram under Books for Christian Girls, where I only talk about Christian fiction, and then my personal one, Book Reviews by Lindsay, which is, yeah, more my personal bookstagram. I'm also on TikTok, Goodreads, and Facebook, and I hope to see y'all here, there, and everywhere. I hope you have an absolutely lovely rest of your day. Bye!